We'll just wait a moment for everybody to get on. Okay, we might kick off, Andrew. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Terra Uranium Investor Update. On the line today, we have Andrew Vigar, Exec Chair of Terra Uranium. Over to you, Andrew.
Good morning and welcome. Thank you very much for inviting me along today, Alex.
Pleasure.
We've posted a little presentation, which is an update on our deck as of today, particularly talking about our results at the first drilling at Parker Lake. So we might just get straight into that. Here we go. Right, good. The board, just noting there that Troy Basoli, who was one of our founders, has stepped down recently as he has taken over full-time position with Ather Energy, who are one of our neighbours in the basin. Congratulations to Troy for all the work he's done, and look forward to working with him further in the future. A little note there on value waves and where we're sitting, just emphasising that we are a pre-discovery exploration company. We're operating down this part of the life cycle of a project, and we're very much looking to make a discovery and move up to that very steep part of the curve where everybody benefits. Just a quick note there on the global uranium supply, and particularly down the left-hand corner where I've updated the price cycle over the last 30 odd years. And you'll notice that that peak back there in around 2007 is the reason we're optimistic about the current price, which is sitting just above $60 US. Our projects, we are a discovery company looking for major projects. So these are the ones that sit within our little yellow and blue circle there, of the MacArthur, Cigar and Phoenix style. In other words, average grades of greater than 15% uranium. That's a terrific grade, and that's what we're looking for. But they too tend to be a little deeper in the basin, and work for these style of deposits or exploration really did dry up around 1990, which is where we've got our little mark here. And we're now picking that up and advancing it quite successfully in our view. Why do we think these deposits can operate well? Is because of the work particularly guys like Denison have been doing in taking ISR extraction methods used for shallow deposits to depth. This has been proved. These numbers in this little deck have been updated now as of 26th of June this year, and we're looking at all-in sustaining costs of around US $16 a pound uranium, which is incredibly low. What have we been doing? This is a timeline, and I wanted to emphasize it because we have been able to achieve 2 years of work as we were setting out in the IPO in just under 1 year. This is a terrific achievement for the staff and the people in the company. We've taken what were grassroots concepts right through to targets. We started with about what we thought were 10 potential target areas. As we sit here today, we have 28, which is just unbelievable work and a real tribute to all our team on the ground. If we look at what we've been doing, we've taken historical data, which was, as I said, about 30 years old. We've updated it with a whole lot of new science, and all this data has been collected by our contractors. So if we start with the top, we do use geochemistry, just looking at the very shallow information, that we can get at surface, remembering we're a long way up here. So we're just sitting up at the top. We then use geophysics, such as VTEM and ZTEM to look for the subsurface. VTEM will get into sandstone, ZTEM will see into the basement. We brought the ANT technology over from Australia, ambient noise tomography, which is a type of passive seismic to map the shape of the unconformity, remembering that we are targeting down here at the unconformity and just above for these bonanza-style deposits. We reprocessed all the historical geophysics and all the open data. Now, don't forget that within Terra, we have a database of every single drill hole in the eastern Athabasca, all the tenements, all the players in those tenements, all the surface samples. We are very much monitoring continuously everything that's going on in our patch. Structural analysis using both geophysics and structural geology, looking at the structures in the basement, which are the fluid pathways. So what have we been doing? These are our projects. As I mentioned earlier, We started with 10. We now have 28 targets ready for drilling. The Parker project, which we'll go into a bit more detail down in the southern area, Passfield, which is our largest tenement holding and was our original project, and the Hawk Rock project, which is shallower and in the northern part of the Cable Bay. The Cable Bay is our main target zone. We are generating a whole new province here, parallel to the major deposits in the past, slightly to the east. They're not only past operating mines, but they also have the mills and the ability to operate should we make a discovery. We focus in on our Parker project, which was the main topic for today. We have drilled our first drill hole here on our T2 target. It was a successful hole in our view. We had uranium mineralization in the basement, and that was very, very encouraging. You'll also notice there, those red lines are our basement conductors. We have 25 kilometers of basement conductors there, mostly parallel to the Cable Bay shear zone, and some offsetting structures which are very exciting and definitely worth testing. We zoom in a bit on Parker. That's our first drill hole on the right-hand side there. It was over 1,000 meters. We got very strong response at the unconformity, just above it and below in the downhole gamma probe. And the assay results we announced on Thursday last week, to us, were very encouraging. The fact that we have mineralization in the basement and it contains uranium. This is the first drill hole within 30-kilometer radius of where we are. We are proving up a whole new province. It has uranium in it. It has structures. We're only on one target. You'll note there PK23D001A, which is where we drilled. We have another 7 targets and 5 on major conductors to test. This is a lot of work to do undercover for a company of our size. But this is, and the little cross section there shows that strong conductor in the basement. We were noting in our strip logs, so we have published these also last week for those who are a bit more technically minded. I do apologise if there's a little bit of detail in there, but these are very important mineralogy logs, as well as structures, as well as downhole gamma, and looking at the alteration. We were very encouraged in our first hole. We got very high bleaching and alteration in the upper part of the hole, as well as indications of dravite. Dravite's an alteration mineral often associated with uranium mineralization. But as we got deeper in the hole, it wasn't quite so strong. And then we got, as we said, some spot samples of quite reasonable uranium grades in the basement. It's possible that we collared in the structure and drilled out of it, but that will be followed up with further work. It's a prospective area, and that was what we were trying to prove. Also, as we noted in the previous slide, the basement was around 100 meters deeper than was predicted from the old work that had been done. That also impacts the work programs and the geophysical modeling in particular. Quickly, a quick mention of the Passfield project. That's our largest tenement package. We have 7 targets in that area yet to test, and a number of strong conductors, particularly around the T3, T4 area, where there's been significant work in the past, and we have good indications at surface. And a little bit on our Passfield targets, a bit more detail also overlaid on our ZTEM basement mapping. And I zoom in on that Passfield area, and showing our ANT. This is the only area where we've done ANT. We'd certainly like to do more of it because we feel it is mapping that unconformity very well. And we note that there are other players in the basin now, such as ISO Energy, testing ANT for their own use as well. We're very proud of the fact that we brought that technology in, and a little bit on our Hawk Rock area. And just over the basement and the ZTEM. We work very closely with the traditional owners. We're very passionate about this, and it's something that we really need to emphasize, is that you cannot operate on the ground in these areas without the participation of the local people. And I just want to thank everybody. We are going to go to questions, but just to summarize, I think the main points are that we have picked up an area which is a whole new province. We've proven that it has uranium in it. We've gone from 10 to 28 targets. A key point for us is that we own these projects 100%. They are 100% us. There is no clawbacks, no earn-ins, no options, no royalties, nothing else. We own them ourselves. and that means that we can work with them and we can bring in other partners to work alongside us. I guess when we look at expenditures and what we've invested to bring the projects to where they are today, these are major projects that are going to need major expenditures, and the company and the board are very aware that to do that, it's likely we will have to bring in a partner. So we're actively seeking those partners, and that way we can invest the considerable sums that are needed to take these through to discovery without diluting or affecting our current investors. So I guess that's the path we're looking at the moment. With the data we have and the quality of it, we feel that will be quite successful. I think they're the main key points I wanted to fire off on, Alex, and I know it's open to the floor, and you might have a few questions there to fire at me. And I think I'm on time.
Yeah, well done. That was thanks, Andrew. That was pretty much 10 minutes on the nose, so well done. Thank you for going through it all. If anyone has any additional questions, please type them in on the Q&A box at the bottom. I had quite a few by email previously as well, so I'll start on those. The main one that came up was essentially, do you see these results as positive? And if so, why? That was one theme. So I think you've touched on it already, but maybe expand.
Yeah, I think I have. And as I said, we are a discovery company, and taking on a new province to prove that, or new district to prove that it has mineralization in it. Everybody thought it might, but until you actually get in there and do the geophysics and do the initial amount of drilling work that we've done to show that it is a mineralized province, that to us has been a great investment. And we were expecting that, Alex, that we would be actually reducing our land holding, that we would, say some areas are not quite as interested as others, but we've had very little of that going on. It just keeps lighting up with more and more targets. So, and I think it's also reflected in the fact that when we started in this area, there was really no one around us. And now we've got the likes of Costa in the south, Ather around Passfield, and ISO Energy to the northeast. These are all major companies with major investments. And we feel that's a tick of confidence in us as well, because they're following us in.
What are they, given they're TSX listed, I think, what kind of market caps are you talking about for those companies? Just for anyone who's not aware of them.
Yeah. I think Ather's about, I think both of them are around $500 million. Look, don't quote me on that because I haven't checked it lately, but these are substantial companies with very, very skilled and professional teams and access to major funding. So the fact that they're working in the same area, it's always hard at first, Alex. It's hard kicking a new area off, but we're well down the track. We're pretty excited.
Great. And another question, Andrew. The theme of this came up a few times. Just how has capital been deployed versus guidance, and what have the results been as a result of that?
Yeah, and that's a really good question as well. In our IPO, we had a guidance budget, and out of that budget, we thought that we might, spend over 2 years. Roughly half of that budget would go in the ground. With the work that we've done and the quality of the team, and we've been able to accelerate that and get all that work done in 12 months instead of 2 years. That's brought these projects along a lot more quickly, which is value to the shareholders, because of course you spend a fair bit in just general admin and overheads of running a public company. So we've more or less cut those in half. We've kept the company very lean and the funds deployed. So as we're sitting as of 30 June, we've been spending almost 75%, 3/4 of the funds raised have gone into the ground, have been invested in developing these projects. I will be honest and say that we would have liked to have done a lot more drilling, but the escalation in drilling costs and overall general costs over the last 12, 18 months has been enormous. I mean, we've seen 20, 30% rises. And because our drill holes are deep, and it's not simple, we can't just do a 10 or 20% reduction in a drill program, because holes are $1 million a hole. So we've had to cut it back substantially. And we're happy that where we are today is where we might have been in another 12 months, but we're here today, and we can take advantage of the excitement in the uranium space with data that's ready to go, which is really what we've been trying to do, and I'm pretty happy with that. So yeah, the shareholders can be happy that the funds have been well deployed, but we would have liked to have got more drilling done, but unfortunately, it just wasn't possible.
Okay, thanks, Andrew. Well, we wanted to keep this to 15 minutes. We're 15 minutes already, so unless there's any more questions coming in through the Q&A, we can probably conclude the session there, Andrew, if that's okay.
Yeah, thanks very much, Alex, and thanks for the opportunity to put this out on the web. And I look forward to meeting some of the other shareholders in person over the next couple of weeks.
Thanks, Andrew, and thanks to everyone dialing in today. We'll distribute a recording of this shortly. Thank you.
Thanks, Alex.
Thanks, Andrew.